in the world can we find anyone who can beat Mark Scaife? Certainly not Canberra so far, but today just could be the day. The capital is cloudy, it's cold, it's captivating as we get ready once again for action. Hello, I'm Bill Woods, and certainly pit lane is springing to life on day 2 of the V8 Supercar Championship Round 5, the Stegbar Canberra 400. There are 320 points and 300 kilometres left to go. If yesterday's action is any indication, do not leave your seat.
Calibrating.
Down.
So you look at the big boxer. Christian Neil Crompton gets the jump on him.
Ride your luck in the Stegbar Canberra 400, and it can take you anywhere. Mark Scaife, stunned by his worst qualifying performance of the season, drives a careful and crafty race, while the few who had the chance to beat him fell away.
Oh, no, Greg Murphy.
There's a fine line between triumph and tragedy, as Craig Lowndes discovered.
Craig Lowndes is about to get a black flag for crossing the yellow line on the pit exit.
Jason Bright.
And I believe it's for the same infringement, not exiting the pit lane correctly.
Marcus Ambrose, deflated by a tangle with tyres in the shootout, fights his way from 15th to 4th. But all those who prospered from race 1 will start this day from the back of the grid. Get ready as we roll the dice again. Let's check the weather now with that beautiful shot of the water spout on Lake Burley Griffin. Cloudy, west to northwest winds, and they are blowing some very heavy clouds over this circuit, I can tell you. The chance of a shower, maximum temperature only 12 degrees. It almost feels like snow here in the capital today. Now, the events, I mentioned earlier, a lot of kilometres, a lot of points still left in this round. Race 2, the reverse grid race, 25 laps, much the same as yesterday, except, of course, the people who were on top yesterday will be at the back today. Compulsory pit stops, 2 of them in the 50-lap race 3. A great day, and we welcome once again Matthew White, who's going to be calling the action today with Mark Osler. Barry Sheen, of course, with Greg Rust in the pits. Matty, already we've seen some tremendous action. This place lives up to its reputation, doesn't it?
The car breaker reputation, Billy. I mean, there's a very simple rule around here. It sounds simple enough. You've just got to stay out of trouble. That's the golden rule around the nation's capital, and that is exactly and effectively how Mark Scaife won race 1 yesterday. He was Mr. Clean in race 1. He had no damage, he had no penalties, and in the end, he had no worries. But I've got to say, it was a bit worrying to see how the rest of the field, the guys in front of him, didn't take the advantage from the word go. Take a look at the start and you'll see exactly what happens. Remember that Scaife starts from 6th position, but look up the front. Jason Bright and Craig Lowndes almost trip over themselves coming through to turn 1. Now, Mark Scaife ends up getting through nice and cleanly. That right there, the Craig Lowndes incident, is something that you're going to dissect in just a few moments. There were all sorts of dramas unfolding yesterday. This one belonged to Greg Murphy. Can you believe it? Leading the race, car number 51 gives up.
That was alternator problems there, which was just sheer bad luck for Murph. We saw Stephen Johnson come to grief. Max Wilson have some problems. He qualifies so well, doesn't finish too well, but this man does. Mark Scaife. Tremendous performance, Matthew. What do you do? Russell Ingall, this was another story that came out late in the day, wasn't it? Because Russell had those problems and was in fact reinstated as a finisher at the end of the race, which means he will in fact take pole position today, not Cameron McLean. He'll be alongside him on the front row. They're the results from race 1.
So that's how they finish. Mark Scaife, Stephen Richards and Todd Kelly make it an all-Holden podium for race 1. Just the thing that we didn't see yesterday that we're probably going to see today, Billy, if you add to that mix, that incredible mix, maybe some rain.
Well, that's true, and hard to believe, but there are so many factors here. We talked about the Ingall incident, but Matthew mentioned Craig Lowndes, and that is something we want to look at right now in more detail. This was quite controversial, and I think the most important point of all from this is what the punters would think about what is a very fine line. As I said at the top of the show, Craig was given a drive-through penalty for crossing that yellow line on the pit lane exit. Jason Bright was also penalised in what would have to be a more clear-cut incident back in the pits when he left his garage. But this is the one that caused a lot of controversy because obviously it cost Craig the race. Very difficult to pass around this circuit, and I think it was a fair bet that Craig would have done extremely well anyway if he hadn't had that drive-through penalty. Now, I think in fairness to everybody concerned, we should get the Avesco Driving Standards Advisor Colin Bond here to comment on this. Colin, of course, this was the subject of a very straight ruling yesterday, a clear-cut ruling, but there was still some, question marks over it from the 00 Motorsport garage, wasn't there?
Well, there was, but they were the only ones that actually crossed the line, and they were penalised and obviously looked at all the possibilities of maybe getting out of it, because it was fairly clear we've got a very good man who actually is at the particular point. He dictates whether, in fact, the car does go across the line or it doesn't. As it was shown on TV, he was correct. The car crossed the line. He had no options but to actually radio through, and then the appropriate penalty was applied.
There's no ruling for leeway here. The drivers were not told they had any leeway at all?
Well, last year, actually, that line was much longer, and we allowed them to run two wheels over towards the end. This year, we shortened the line up considerably, and in theory, they shouldn't have to run over it.
Well, in fairness to punters, Colin, we're seeing the incident again here. That's the freeze. Definitely the wheel was on the yellow line or slightly over it. But I think anyone who saw last year's race and remembers a similar incident that went without penalty would definitely bring it to mind in these circumstances. And I think on behalf of the punters and everyone concerned, here's Mark Scaife in the same event, same spot last year. Colin, no penalty there. How do you explain that?
Only because the line this year is much shorter. If you look where he is now, we've shortened the line up considerably so that virtually Mark wouldn't be crossing over the line this year if he did the same line.
But does it make any difference? It's still a line that's still being crossed. Why was there leeway last year?
No, last year everyone was crossing over the line. It was too long. We allowed them that leeway last year. This year we shortened the lines up and said, look, over this year out, and that's what really happened.
So the important point is in the drivers' briefings last year, they knew that they had some levity. Yes. This year in the drivers' briefing, they knew they had none?
Correctly. Exactly right.
OK, well, you've cleared that up for us, Colin. You can understand now how the punters might think it looks pretty bad, don't you?
Well, I mean, rules are rules. Everyone's trying the limit all the time. You know, the racing is very close, of course. Any advantage anyone can make, they try and make it. I'm not saying that Craig make an advantage out of it, but they're the rules. We had a guy there, as I said, very good guy. He was a judge of fact. He called it through. I didn't even see it until afterwards and watched it on TV, and I just go with him. I think his calling through was correct.
All right, well, thanks for your time, Colin. We hope we have an uneventful race today.
So do I. Thank you.
All the best. Colin Bond, Driving Standards Advisor for Avesco. We'll take a break now. We'll come back and do a little more to set up this big day of racing here in the V8 Supercar Championship.
The challenge of Canberra lies in the twists and turns of this incredibly tight street circuit. Ford's Marcus Ambrose holds the lap record. There are 15 turns as the V8s weave their way around this 3.9 kilometre track at a top speed of 230 k's an hour. Greg Murphy has the inside line.
Welcome aboard the Cayman inside line here at Canberra. Up into turn one, the infamous turn one, gets pretty tight here. Lots of nose to tail action, and you can make or break your whole weekend in that one corner. Accelerating out up to third gear, short shifting around this section, off Canberra, up to the old Parliament House. Through the chicane here, second or third gear. On our left is the old Parliament House, very picturesque around here. Through this chicane. Very tight, as you can see. Canberra's super tight. The concrete walls are in close proximity. Lots of crowning on the road as well. Now, this section here has been widened ever so slightly, a little bit wider than what it used to be. Second gear. And now we're accelerating up towards the new Parliament House. You can see straight ahead up in front of me. Fourth gear, on the brakes, down to second gear. Now we're accelerating onto the fastest part of the circuit. This is the State Circle. Parliament House is up there on my left, up to fifth gear. Fifth gear is the highest gear we get into around Canberra. Hard on the brakes, about 240 k's. No sixth gear here. Second gear, lots of second gear corners, using all the track on the exit, on the concrete. Up through the box again. About 180 k's, then hard on the brakes. Down into where the roundabout used to be. Over the curb, using all the curbs very slow, about 50 kilometres an hour. Then up the gearbox again. On the left, Lake Burley Griffith out there. Beautiful here in Canberra. And on the brakes at about the 180 metre board, down the box and first gear. Not many places in Australia we use first gear, but we use it here in Canberra. The track's very off Canberra, accelerating all the way around like a speedway through here. Up the gearbox, on the brakes, back to third, we're just about finished the lap. The last corner, accelerate onto the start, finish straight, and that's a lap of Canberra. Hope you enjoyed it.
Well, the cloud is thickening above us, and you probably can't see it on your screen, but there's just the odd speck of rain coming down as well, and we've got this wonderful shot of the clouds building up there over a lot of water on Lake Burley Griffin and, of course, the water spout. Barry Sheen's just unstrapped his cross-country skis just as a precaution. And you're not going to hose down this Lowndes incident, are you? I think you're going to throw a bit of fuel on it.
Yeah, well, I think it's completely wrong. As far as I'm concerned, yesterday they may have applied the rules, but they should have applied some common sense. You know, really, they wrecked a race yesterday. Lowndes was out the front and Brighty was right up there and that. They should have let the race run, and then at the end of it said, OK, right, you did this, you did that. That way, the paying public that comes to see a race get the spectacle and don't get ripped off. I mean, you can imagine a bloody horse in the Melbourne Cup. You know, the jockey does something wrong, so they give it a trot-through penalty. What is that going to do for the race? Not a lot, is it, really? And I just think that they should drop all this business of drive-through penalties and penalties during the race and sort it out after. Sit down in front of a video and say, right, you did this, you did that, $1,000 fine, 10-second penalty, 20 points off your score, and it's good for, you know, it doesn't harm anybody and it keeps it a good spectacle, because at the end of the day, that's what it is.
OK, well, let's take a look at the championship points after race 1 yesterday, and, of course, Mark Skate expanded that lead, approximately double that of Greg Murphy. Beyond that, though, Baz, tremendous chance.
It's very close, isn't it? You know, you've got to hand it to HRT and Scapia. I mean, they're off with the fair, isn't they? They've just done a runner. But, you know, for Murphy, it was a shame yesterday with Murphy's thing, the alternator packing up, and he gave it, you know, he had to come in. But, yeah, as you say, the rest of it's really close. It's just the massive lead. Scapia's got 500-odd points.
Russell Ingall on pole. You reckon he'll hold that for the second race?
I reckon he's going to have the widest hold in existence.
Well, we'll wait and see. The reverse grid, of course, we're referring to, race 2 today. One of the great jobs done this year, apart from the Holden Racing team, has been by the new control tyre company, of course, Dunlop. They are always looking for innovations after having started so well, and here is just another one.
Picking up a couple of early Christmas presents for the boys at Kmart Racing. Hi, how are you?
Good, Harry.
Good, thank you. We've all seen the barcoding system. It's on just about every product you buy from the store or supermarket these days. And it doesn't just help the checkout operator determine the price. It gives the store valuable information in terms of stock level and other product-related details. But that piece of technology has now found its way into V8 Supercar Racing. Have one as well, thanks, if I can. Now, the system itself is similar to that used in Formula 1 and the Kart World Series, but in V8 Supercar Racing terms, this is an Australian first. It enables Dunlop to keep track of every one of their control tyres at a given round, and they can also report to Avesco on which allocation of tyres have been given to a particular car. So that means the officials can perform spot checks to ensure that the right rubber is on the right car. And it also prevents a thing called tyre pooling, particularly with the bigger teams. So Russell Ingall, for example, couldn't run on the rubber that's been allocated to his teammate, Stephen Richards. This unique barcoding system also enables Dunlop to maintain quality control. So if ever there's any tyre problems, they know exactly which batch it belongs to and whether any other drivers in the paddock area may be suffering the same type of problems. Now, when the old or damaged rubber is returned to Dunlop for the final time to be destroyed, the barcoding system is entered for the final time. It's actually one of Marcus Ambrose's old tyres that's already been entered into their system. So as you can see, this barcoding system enables Dunlop to keep track of their rubber right throughout the life of the control tyre.
Well, Dunlop, always on the lookout for innovation. Greg Rust, always on the lookout for a bargain. After the break, we'll go racing. 2 of 3 coming up in the V8 Supercar Championship Round 5, the Stegbar Canberra 400.
Association with the past, so think about it. It's like a tide that's in a last. Don't move so fast. Don't run, 'cause you might find out I'm the one. And I still feel lonesome.
Massive impact from Cameron McConville upside down.
Car's rolled, and it's McConville, but McConville's gone over.
In 2001, Cameron McConville's V8 Supercar career literally turned upside down. 2 big tumbles in the space of 3 months reminded the young Victorian of a similar incident more than a decade before, when cutting his teeth in the cutthroat world of karting. McConville is Mr. Versatile. His 10-year journey from karts to a full-time V8 supercar drive has involved a variety of single-seater categories. After dominating the 92 Formula Ford Championship, the talented teenager switched to tin tops and won the 96 GTP title for Porsche. A 2-year factory drive with Audi and Super Touring produced impressive results. Top 3 finishes in both the championship and at Bathurst prompted V8 Superpower HRT to sign him as co-driver for the 1999 endurance races. McConville proved a capable accomplice for Craig Lowndes, who won his 3rd national title following the pair's podium finish at Bathurst. Cam's search for a full-time V8 drive finally came to an end with Rod Nash in season 2000, before heading north and joining the Sydney-based Lansvale Racing Team in 2001.
Warming up now for the Stegmar Canberra 400, and gentlemen, I cannot believe yet another twist to this extraordinary weekend of events so far.
Quite impossible to believe, isn't it? We've been talking from the top of the show that Russell Ingall would start from position number 1. Now, we thought that would happen because Ingall finished last, but in fact, Cameron McLean finished last. The lowest placed finisher gets pole position. Cameron McLean completed 1 lap less than Russell Ingall. It is one of the weirdest grids you will see all season, simply because of the fact that it's a reverse grid. McLean will start from 1, Ingall now 2, Bargwanna and Jason Richards on row 2. Then it will be Morris, Rodney Forbes, Anthony Track and John Faulkner.
Should be a fascinating first corner. Tony Longhurst, Mark Larkham in there too. Simon Wills, Stephen Ellery in 16. Brad Jones and Jason Bright. Craig Baird and Glenn Seaton will start out of 16.
Now this is where we'll start to see the big names down the back of the field, from Wheel to Crompton to Bow to Johnson. Position 21 belongs to Craig Lowndes. 22 is Radicic. 23 Tander and Perkins in 24. Mark Scaife still not on this list. Bernard, Ambrose, Kelly and Richards.
Mark Scaife, there he is, starting out of 29. Max Wilson alongside the Brazilian. Greg Murphy, Cameron McConville, Rick Kelly off the back. Wayne Wakefield. Those last 4 cars, of course, or last 5 cars, did not finish race 1, so they start right off the back. It's the ultimate penalty for not finishing this race. As Matthew White said earlier on, the key to winning this one is just staying out of trouble. You have to be consistent. Let's check it out on the Ford Race Analysis. The Stegmar Canberra 400. Capacity field of 34 cars. 25 laps the distance as it was yesterday. 100 kilometres. Pit window opens. Lap 2 closes. Lap 17 for the compulsory tyre stop. Of course, the reigning champ is Stephen Johnson. But he's not going as well in 2002 as he did 12 months before.
Around about a 20 to 30% chance of rain, says the Bureau on their website. But just take a look at the clouds coming across Parliament House. And like they mentioned, that we could even see a passing shower maybe. If it's going to come through, it'll come through very heavy. But the beauty of this place is that the wind will bring it in and hopefully take it out as well. The drivers were talking about on their warm-up lap just before we joined them on this one that it was so dark. Let's listen to Mark Scaife.
It probably doesn't look as dark as it did before.
Yeah, it doesn't look as dark as it did before. These are some of our in-car cameras that we've got. We'll be in the back seat with Greg Murphy. They've fixed that problem yesterday. An alternator cost him a race win. He was out in front and ended up parking the Kmart Commodore. We'll be on board with the enforcer, Russell Ingall, and, of course, the super cheap auto entry of Stephen Ellery.
Never seen the Canberra street course with rain on it, and there's big patches of concrete around here, so I imagine it'd be quite a skating rink if the rain really came down. So everyone's watching nervously at the skies and see what this weather holds. It could really turn things upside down, as indeed this reverse grid race will do and always has done. Very, very difficult for the fast guys to come through. Stephen Johnson, reigning champion on the streets of Canberra. He finds himself buried right there in the pack.
Yeah, down in position number 20, Stephen Johnson. John Bow will be alongside him. And as we mentioned, Craig Lowndes in the 00 Motorsport Ford Falcon is behind those two guys in position number 21. And just take a look at the view that he's got up. A long, narrow main straight with all those cars in front of you. It's a nightmare situation.
A lot of the guys have got the wets on standby, and they're asking the drivers to, I guess, keep an eye on the weather conditions as they make their way around the track. The air temperature has dropped to 11 degrees and the wind has swung around. We may see some rain.
What about the average cabin temperature? 22 degrees. That's around about 40 degrees less than when they attacked the round 4 at Hidden Valley in Darwin. So it's nice and pleasant inside, but it could get ugly. We've got rain forecast. Menacing clouds are overhead, and we've got a reverse grid for race 2 of round 5 of the V8 Supercar Championship. Let's get back to business with a back-to-front start. McLean and Ingle. Ingle in car number 8 almost gets it sideways off the start. The bottleneck towards turn 1. Who gets through? Ingle, the enforcer, through cleanly. So too McLean. Richards, no troubles there. But what about the back of the pack? They'll be easing off and making sure that there's no dramas.
Has to be a level of cooperation amongst the drivers there through that first turn. It is a real funnel. Everyone gets right down to first gear. Some guys even put the clutch in and just wait for the traffic to flow through. That's the only way you can survive that first turn, particularly in a reverse grid situation. Shoot down toward Holden turn for the first time. Russell Ingle in command from Cameron McLean as they head up Kings Avenue for the first of 25 times. Pit strategy is going to be a big factor here. These fast guys, very hard to pass on this circuit. They may pick up a few positions, but they're really going to be relying on their crews to give them a big leapfrog effect when they come in to change tyres.
Bit of a lock-up from car number 600, Simon Wills in the Cat Ford. The pit window opens at lap 2 and closes at lap 17.
See one of the Castrol Commodores there. Might have been Larry Perkins just brushing the wall on the exit into State Circle. They sweep down under Commonwealth Avenue. It's a big field of V8s, 34 cars in all. And it looks like a relatively clean start to this reverse grid race.
Garth Tandy goes through, and 2 of the Castrol Commodores side by side as they come through VB corner and attack Flynn Drive. Back down to first gear when they come through this part here, Canberra Complex. Ingle leads them through. Bargwana has moved up a position on Cameron McLean. Rodney Forbes, Anthony Tratt, Ellery's in there. There goes Bradley Jones, John Bauer, his teammate. He's leading a train of the 2 Shell Helix Ford Falcons. Scaife is still down the rear. No moves from the 4-time series champion yet.
You do really get locked in there. There's Wayne Wakefield in the last position as they sweep under Commonwealth Avenue through the Ford sweeper up toward pit straight for the first time. Fantastic view from our camera right up there above the circuit. There's your positions. Ingle in first. Bargwana's forced his way through to second. And fortunately, a nice clean start to the reverse grid race. Russell Ingle now is taking advantage of this clear track. Look at the amount of room he's put on the field already. He's really going to try and make up as much track as he can while he's got clear road ahead of him to try and get as much of a track advantage before he comes in for his compulsory stop.
Hey, I tell you what, they've been blessed from the start of this race with the weather. We were thinking that there would be some sort of rain, maybe even at the very start. But look at this. The sun is peeking through the parliamentary precinct as they take aim at the big flagpole on top of Parliament House and also take aim at turn 10.
Well, often you see that. Mark Scaife running in 28th position in a V8 Supercar field. But they really do turn the grid completely upside down. The format has its critics, but it certainly mixes up the cars at the front. Oh, there might be trouble here for one of the Kmart Commodores. Pulling off to the side as they come up towards State Circle. I'm not sure which car that is, whether it's Kelly or Murphy. I think it's Murphy.
I think it was Greg Murphy.
Yeah. So Murphy had a shocker. There's Todd Kelly, so it must be Murphy.
Yeah, he's right at the back of that list there. You can see him just at the top of your screen. Greg Murphy slowing down again.
Well, he had problems yesterday with an alternator and the car pulled out right at this part of the circuit. Now he's got to try and limp it back. You can hear the team manager, Rob Crawford, talking to him on the headsets, but that's a rotten bit of luck for Greg Murphy. And we hear that the Rick Kelly car has also got smoke pouring from it. There may be problems for both cars as the pit window opens and cars are already coming into pit lane for a tyre change.
Comment by Rob Crawford, the team boss at Kmart Racing. He's been on the radio to Greg to tell him to slow down. They're going to try and complete the stop for Todd Kelly. Let Kelly get out before Murphy comes in. The word is that Murphy has a drive shaft problem or a major vibration of some sort in the drive line.
Well, you can see Murph shaking his head as the car limped down Flynn Drive. He cannot believe the amount of bad luck he's got in this race. Oh, problems here for Paul Radicic. Big damage on the Shell 18 Falcon. Goodness me. That wheel is just stuck there. Oh, and there's also been some damage further back for Craig Lowndes. Bit of panel beating work going on in the pit lane now. Looks like he's gone underneath someone. And look at the damage there. It's always a risk in this reverse grid situation. It looks like the car running okay. Here's the Holden Racing team. Hard at work, Mark Scaife getting back into the queue. So a flurry of pit stops. No one wants to take a risk of getting hung out there to dry by the safety car.
Good stop there by Mark Scaife, around 7.5 seconds and straight out of pit lane. But Rick Kelly has come in. There is smoke coming from the exhaust here. They're going to complete the pit stop and looks like they're going to send him back out. So not quite sure what's going on with the 0-2 Holden Young Lions Commodore.
Feverish work at the Kmart racing team trying to fix that driveline problem. So Greg Murphy's appalling luck on the streets of Canberra this weekend. There's 0-2, the Young Lions car, Rick Kelly. And a lot of cars get damaged as a result of this format. It certainly has its critics by racing purists. They say it's crazy that they should be starting the race this way, particularly on such a tight and unforgiving circuit as Canberra. It's the Young Lions crew now trying to find the problem under the bonnet of the 0-2 Commodore.
Well, that was Greg Murphy.
Yeah.
The in-car shot of Greg Murphy getting out on lap 4 of 25.
More cars coming in. Here comes Jason Bright for his stop. Holden Racing Team doing it in sequence as Greg Murphy gets out, shakes his head, talks to Tony Fredrickson.
Remove all sharp implements from the Kmart Racing pit area because Greg Murphy copped it yesterday when an alternator gave way while he was leading the race. This time,
look trouble. At this. We've got this thing on fire now. So much heat going in there that he's actually got a fire burning under the tyre.
And this happened to Paul Radisich. I mean, he had this problem right at the very start of the lap, so he's had to try and get 3.9 kilometres around the circuit with that big problem. This is exactly what happened, so...
Oof. Oh, he's gone right up. Well,
that's
Stephen Johnson...
That's at turn 13.
Stephen Johnson's gone into the back of Radisich, so he's also sporting some damage as well.
Stephen Johnson went in the back of his teammate.
Yeah. So both Shell Fords damaged, but this one looks like it's come off far worse. Look at the sparks flying there. Broken suspension components being ground down against the surface of the bitumen. And there's that wheel. Look at that alloy rim there, just getting destroyed as he tries to limp it back to pit lane. Dramatic moment for the Shell team. And just amazing how the fortunes have turned around. Stephen Johnson was dominant on this track only 12 months ago. A very different story in 2000.
Continues tail shaft. That's the second one this year we've had with testing, and it's happened again. I think it'll just go into submission and disappear for a while. That'll be the best thing to do. Hard luck, guys.
Boy, Stephen Ellery will be fuming there. He came in to make his compulsory tyre change, and all of a sudden he found the entrance to the pits blocked by the Shell Falcon. Now we can see how close he is, right up behind Radisich. Radisich may be going slower than the 40-kilometre-hour speed limit, and that'll cost Ellery lots of time if that's the case. Look at this smouldering, steaming wreck. Comes into pit lane.
They've got a fire extinguisher on. They're into it, as you can see. Paul Radisich is about to get out of the car. What a disastrous way for his weekend to end. We might try and move in and have a word with him. There's lots of tyre smoke down here. It's difficult to breathe at times and all that sort of stuff. But as Paul gets out of the car, we'll take him over the way here and have a chin wag to him. But tell us what happened.
A bow run wide, coming onto the front straight, and he hit the wall, and I was underneath him. He just come straight back and clobbered me. So there was a slow car, a whole lot of cars coming in the pit. John just run wide, hit the wall, bounced back, and that was the end of it. I don't know where to go.
Lots of damage to the front right, mate. Can you fix it? Lots of damage to the front right. Can you fix it for the next one?
Oh yeah, I would think so. Yeah, just and it's broken and upright, so we'll fix it.
Rotten luck, Paul.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like Stephen Johnson had a hand in that. There may have been a complete concertina effect going back a number of cars in that incident. So, as always happens in the reverse grid race on Canberra, always plenty of carnage. Jason Bargwanna, though, is the leader of this race at the moment. He hasn't made his compulsory tyre change yet.
And he's just posted the fastest time out there, a 1:46.4709 on that lap. Cameron McLean also hasn't pitted. He's second on the road. Paul Morris as well. There he goes in the Sierra May Wines Commodore, car number 29. Marcus Ambrose now betters the time of Bargwanna, 1:46.018.
Russell Engel is right back in 15th place. I think he may be the top-placed car to have made his compulsory stop. We'll confirm that. But all these cars in front of him yet to make their stops. And there is Stephen Richards. He's got some damage to the car as well. You can see Tander's dragging his fuel tank on the ground. There's been an enormous amount of damage up and down through the field, as you can see from there.
Oh, I can only imagine what's going to happen if the rain does come down. At the moment, Mark Warner is on the road. He's the leader. You're at the Steckbar Canberra 400.
We're back at the Steckbar Canberra 400, and I have a feeling that if you conducted an opinion poll right now in the pits, Rodney Forbes is into the tyres there, and he caught up. I think Seaton was caught up slightly, but certainly Ellery and Wills were absolutely trapped in that damage. There's a safety car on the circuit, and I think the opinion poll would read almost 100% against reverse grid races just at this moment. Maybe they'll cool down later, but here we go, and the carnage is right. The casualty list is long.
Oh, that was a clanger, wasn't it? Smack, bang, crash at turn 10. And one of the biggest victims out of the whole lot of that mess was Glenn Seaton. The Ford has been parked after this. Just take a look at this. He brought it back, limped all the way back into pit lane. And by the time they got it up on the jacks, they came to the conclusion that there's too much damage on that thing. They'll get it in there and try and fix it for race 3.
Well, Glenn Seaton, I cannot believe how tough this Canberra course is, but for you, more importantly, how tough are the street races? You've had a really bad run, haven't you? Adelaide this year and now this?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, but things like that shouldn't happen, Greg. It's simple as that. Like Bradley was passed up the inside of Rodney Forbes. Totally legitimate pass, and it was way side by side, got to the corner, Rodney Forbes ran out of road, bounced off the fence and bounced back into the traffic. Like, just bizarre.
Can you fix it for the next one?
Well, we hope so. There's a hell of a lot of damage, so I hope we can fix it.
Hard luck, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got that right. There's a hell of a lot of damage right up and down through this field. You won't find many cars that haven't got a scrape on them now.
He got something else right too in that interview there with Rusty. The word bizarre pretty much sums up everything we've seen in the first 10 laps of this second race. This is what reverse grids do to people in Neil Crompton.
Well, that was a result of hitting that tyre. He's damaged the front end of the Falcon. He was one of the last remaining cars not to have made his compulsory stop. So if it wasn't bad enough already, that's going to put him right to the back of the queue. McLean, Morris, Crompton and Wayne Wakefield, the 4 cars that haven't made their compulsory stops yet. Let's have a look at this again. Crompton cuts across the corner and crunch.
Straight into him. The same set of tyres that cost Marcus Ambrose dearly in the shootout.
You may wonder how a big lump of rubber like that can do so much damage, but there is a fair bit of mass in those tyre stacks. And V8 Supercars won't take endless punishment. They're fairly fragile in the steering gear. And a bit of a hard whack and you can do a lot of damage. And Crompton's suffering that there. He's gone right to the back of the field, smoke pouring from the car. And now the field's starting to settle down into some sort of order. Russell Ingall is 5th on the road at the moment, but he'll be the race leader when those 4 cars get out of the way. McLean, Morris, Crompton and Wakefield, the only cars yet to make their compulsory tyre changes.
And one of the other victims out of all that mess on turn 10 was Stephen Ellery in the Super Cheap Auto Ford. We've seen how many problems he's had across the weekend, even before we got into race 1 yesterday. Some great advice for Stephen Ellery, a bit weird from his team manager while he was sitting there in pit lane with the car up. Next time you see smoke, Stephen, aim for the smoke. Don't drive into it, because once you get in the middle of it, that's where the trouble is. Greg Murphy joins us up here in the commentary box. I'm sure it's not the best seat in the world for a driver, but Murph, I don't even know where to start for your weekend. Maybe the highway on the way home.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going home. Canberra has just never been... I won the first race ever here, and that was a highlight, and then ever since there it's just been terrible. I actually was enjoying myself today, this weekend too. Last year we had a bit of a struggle, but this year I've actually been enjoying myself, and the car hasn't been liking what's going on. It's failed twice.
Yeah, I'm at Crompton's pit. They're having a bit of trouble there on the left-hand side. Just a bit of panel beating going on. Apparently, Neil went out on some really old tyres, and the plan was to bring them in really early and get some good rubber on, but he got involved in a bit of a straight on or something. I didn't actually see it. And, all they're doing now, they're going to whack a new nose on it by the looks of it. It's, hang on a minute, maybe they're not. No, don't change their mind. It was going to be a nose job, but now it's not.
Everything's so straightforward in Canberra, Baz, isn't it?
Oh, no, God. As you were going to say, I don't think top of the popularity polls is not going to be the reverse grid, is it? Yeah. So all Rodney Forbes come of that.
What are think about reverse grid racing, Murphy? Certainly the purists would say it's ridiculous. It's not speedway. What's your opinion on it?
Well, from what I've seen, actually, I mean, it looks to me that a lot of the leaders or winners of yesterday haven't really been involved in anything. It's been other cars. I mean, I haven't been a huge fan of it, but it has been an exciting thing for the fans. And so far, we've seen a lot of carnage today in this race. Scapey's making a move. Is that
Well, he's a long way down in the order at the moment. Scapey's in 17th place, so he's got a lot of track to try and make up. He's lost whatever advantage there may have been in leapfrogging the field through his pit stops, and now he's got to fight position to position.
I think he's, he's got a lot more to lose than gain. It's really not a priority. I'm sure the team's just said, mate, you're so far ahead. I mean, he didn't even have to try yesterday. They still won the race. So, I'm sure he's just taking it easy, finished the weekend,
Crew Chief Robbie Starr, Murph, has actually been on the radio to him and just saying, look, just maintain your position, be patient, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, after this race is finished and the points add up, he's going to be somewhere near the front, and then he's got a good run in the 50 lapper, and you know how consistent those cars are. So
when you think about it, that was probably one of the easiest races that Mark Scaife has ever won. I mean, all he did was just keep the car straight.
Well, he must have just been laughing his head off. I would have been if it was me.
Look at this.
Up on the inside of Max Wilson.
Yeah, gets him again. So Scaife masterfully guiding his way through this slower traffic, picking up positions as he goes. He's one of the few remaining cars out on the field that doesn't have any sort of battle damage. But remember back in the early 80s, Murph, when Peter Brock earned that nickname Peter Perfect, there was a period there where no matter how hard he tried, he could not lose a race. And Mark Scaife is now in that situation. It's amazing. People just keep serving it up to him on a plate.
Well, that's what I was doing yesterday. We just handed it over to him. What do we got?
I think we've got Paul Wheel, car number 43. He's lost the front spoiler there. I think that's a brand new one they only just chucked on at the start of the race. I'm certain it is. Paul Wheel yesterday finished in 13th position, and he completed the last into the wall.
There was a car, obviously, that he didn't see that. I think it's John Faulkner. He didn't see him, and whoever was in front of him there moved over, and Wheelie was there. That's Brad Jones. Yeah.
Paul, what happened then?
I was just coming down into the first chicane down the back, and I got a good run out on of the corner on Brad, and I come down the right-hand side of him, and I was up to his door, and obviously he didn't look in his mirrors as usual, and put you straight in the wall. You can't drive around here like that. The guy put someone in the wall before it caused a safety car. Now he goes and puts another car in the wall. He should be looking in his mirrors and having to think about what he's doing.
Okay, thanks a lot, Paul.
Thanks, mate. I was just going to say the Wheel finished yesterday's race, the last couple of laps with a flat tyre. It was going down. He had a problem with the valve, and he managed to limp home in 13th position and not get anyone past him on the way home. So a good job from Paul Wheel, but as you can see, very disappointed with the actions of those around him in race 2, lap 13 and 25. Russell Ingall is our race leader in car number 8. Jason Bright will be second after Cameron McLean pits. Jason Bargwanna, Paul Morris and Jason Richards will be following.
Bargwanna went flying across the grass at the flip-flop section there when we were in that interview with Paul Wheel.
That's a big curve there too, Mark. I'm surprised he's still going. I would have thought they would have ripped the suspension or ripped the front spoiler off, because that is a big curve. Here we go. Who's he? Oh, he's gone. He is. How lucky was he?
Whoa! And then crunch.
That was a big save. It looked like he was actually. It looked like he had to jump on the brakes too early, because who was in front of him? Jason Bright. So that was unusual.
Taking evasive action. We're back on board with Mark Scaife. He's back in 16th spot now. His next victim, Stephen Johnson. Just up ahead of him on the road. You can see this queue here.
Train, isn't it? Now?
Very, very hard to pass. There's Johnson, 17. There's Scaife. Right in behind the Shell Ford. So any advantage they may have been looking for from the pit stop has already been used up. And Scaife now is going to make up positions. He's got to do it car by car. He's already effectively taken a few cars. Now he's trying to get past Johnson. Look at the attitude on that car as he bounces out of the flip-flop section across the Canberra of the road. This really is threading the needle.
Take a look at that V8 Supercar website. It's the official website of the V8 Supercar Championship Series. v8supercar.com.au. You get all the latest news, results, driver entry lists, anything you need to know. You'll find it right there, v8supercar.com.au. Lap 14 of 25 as they make their way down State Circle, and
The big players like Mark Scape are starting to make their move. He started in position number 29. He's probably made up at least 10 or so. Let's take a look at the order. Those with the blue T's next to their name have already done their compulsory pit stop. So Cameron McLean is yet to do it. Jason Bright in third. Jason Richards, John Faulkner, Tony Longhurst, Marcus Ambrose and Garth Tander make up our top 8.
Fantastic effort by Jason Richards and the Team Kiwi boys up there in the top 5. How will they fare? Find out after this.
Welcome back. Lap 15 of 25 on the stick bar. Canberra 400. What sort of dramas will unfold? The rain has held off, but it hasn't stopped.
11 laps to go.
So many cars finding the concrete canyon that lines this 4-kilometre circuit. Stephen Johnson, the only survivor out of the Shell Helix racing team, involved in a little bit of a mishap with his teammate Paul Radisich. Car number 18 is in being fixed for race 3. Quite a few cars are in being fixed for race 3 as we go on board with Stephen Johnson, the defending champion here on this circuit. And he's got Mark Scape, lights on.
Got to say, Murph, they've just looking at the body language of that Scaife car throughout practice and qualifying, they've got that car riding the bumps exceptionally well. It just seems to glide across like it's on air.
Well, you've nailed it there, Mark. I mean, that's what it's all about around here. You've got to be able to get across those curbs, because curbs are everything. As he has a go at Steve, he's covering, so you can see Steve over to the right, which is obviously not the line, but he knows Scaife is going to have a look up the inside, so he's covered well. It rides over the curbs. It's so compliant. You just put the foot on the throttle and away it goes. But just looking at the board, Steve Richards has actually made up a few more spots. I mean, he's up in 10th with Todd Kelly right behind him. Those two guys have done a really good job, because they only started just ahead of Scaife, and they've made up a few more spots. So they're flying along. It's going to be some good points for them, and it'll be interesting to see who actually comes out on top for the start of race 3.
Talk about doing a good job. These guys have done a sensational job. 4th outright. They've already made their compulsory stop. They were smart enough to come in when Ingle came in and get out. And they got some good track position. Now he finds himself in 4th position. So Jason Richards really taking advantage of the reverse grid format. The pit crew working well. And now he's got himself a very strong place for the All Blacks.
Yeah, his best race finish in the championship is 4th at Pukekohe last year for Jason Richards. Had 26th in race 1, so he's making a good fist of it here. Here's Russell Engel out in front in the Castrol Perkins race team.
It's so important to, when you've got the opportunity from this reverse grid, you've got to make the most of it, obviously. And then, I mean, it's obviously with a few, you can have a few problems and get caught out and lose that position. But in the reverse grid, like Jason Richards is doing, he's doing a great job up there. You can't afford to lose that advantage from being at the front of that second race. It's so important.
The order at the moment is Ingle. Cameron McLean's in 2nd, but he's going to lose that spot when he comes in for his compulsory stop. He's going to come in pretty soon.
17, isn't it? The window closes, 17.
He's going to have to come in very soon, otherwise he's going to go over the window. Jason Bright will then take over 2nd place.
You can count Neil Crompton out of that situation as well, because
the monitor says he has not.
He's a lap behind, so
Bright started 14th, so he's done very well.
Effort, yeah,
get up to 2nd. His teammate Mark Scafe, he's still locked back there. Stephen Johnson is making life hard for the reigning champ. He's back there in 15th. So the field come down here. Cameron McLean, expect him to peel off in the VIP Pet Foods Falcon pretty soon. He's going to run out of time. Pit window closes on lap 17. Marcus Ambrose has also been one of the big movers in the pack. Started out at 26th. Started out at 26th position. He's up into 7th. So there's been some really big movers in the pack.
McLean's in.
Yep, last car to come off. So now we've got the right track positions to go through to the end of the race. There's Ambrose. He's done a brilliant job to get up from 26th starting position. So there's been some big movers in the pack here. Here's McLean.
One of the other guys who came in when Russell Engel came in is John Faulkner in car number 46. Started on 8th, and he's currently holding down, well, 4th position effectively. So another good performance from John Faulkner. He brained them at Eastern Creek.
Stephen Johnson holding in Mark Scafe. You can see some damage to the front of the number 1 Commodore now. We thought he might have got through unscathed, but that looks like he's had a bit of a biff in the back of the Shell car. Let's have a look at the Nintendo replay, and this might tell us the story as to just what happened to Mark Scafe.
That's coming down into the last chicane before we come onto the... Whoa!
And it was just a hit up the back
Just
of the...
letting him know that he's there. Not that he already didn't know.
No.
And again, I think.
And
yep.
again.
Hello.
So it's looking out the back of the number 17 car, Stephen Johnson, and this battle's been going on for lap after lap.
Another bonnet bites the dust.
Yeah, and he's making that car exceptionally wide. So the order at the moment, Ingle, Bright, Jason Richards now moves up to third as a result of McLean coming in, so that's even better for the All Blacks. John Faulkner, Tony Longhurst, Marcus Ambrose, Tander. This is the battle for 14th position. Johnson's in 14th, Skaith's in 15th. Bernard, Wilson and Perkins behind them. So there's a real gaggle of cars. You just imagine the steam coming out of Scapey's ears right now.
He hasn't had steam coming out many times this year, so that's what it's like for the rest of us.
Hey, not to take anything away from the drivers, but probably the hardest working guys around here for this weekend and throughout at the end of this race will be those tough, fast smash repairs guys.
To go. You're not wrong there. They'll be pretty busy after this race as well.
Yeah, the TAFE smash repair team, they've got a brand new bus and they've all fixed it up, and it's certainly looking a treat. They do fantastic work rebuilding these cars, and you can see the damage that they've got on, and Mark Skaife's going to get out of this one with hardly any damage compared to most of the other guys that are either sitting alongside us or walking up and down pit lane wondering what might have been. 18 of 25. Stephen Johnson holds off the challenge from Scaife, and Bernard's behind waiting to pounce as he gets some smoke coming out of the Caltex Haviline Ford.
I guess the interesting thing here, your teammate Murph, Todd Kelly, he's in 10th place.
Yep.
There is a perception, I guess, with all these cars, the two Kmart cars and the two HRT cars and the Young Lions car all operating under the TWR Australia umbrella. They suspect that the cars are all identical. But you guys actually go a very different direction in terms of suspension and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, a lot of differences between the cars, I should say. And you know, we've tried to hedge our bets. Obviously, last year all the cars were very, very fast and quite similar, and we were running different components. But so we stuck with that this year because we didn't know which way the tyre was going to go with the Dunlop, and you know, we've been developing our own things in our own way. So the teams do work fairly separately, and obviously that's the professional way to do it with the sponsors and everything, and keep everyone happy. So yeah, the cars are different. We're working very hard to try and bridge the gap like everyone to HRT, because the cars are slightly different.
You couldn't get a greater physical gap between your two garages and pits, could you? They're right up on end, and you guys are right down there.
I think everyone's scared that if we were close, you know, it'd be worse or something. But yeah, no one can be bothered walking down that distance. No.
So the battle continues. The field really settling down into a queue here. Everyone running pretty much the same pace now. The tyre condition pretty similar, so it's pretty hard to find a gap.
Well, this year it's been an honour for AFL to be on 10 on Saturdays, but we also get to do it on Monday. Melbourne versus Collingwood. Please check your local guides. That's AFL on 10. Monday the 10th of June. Tomorrow. Lap 19 of 25. Russell Ingall is our race leader in the Stegbar 400. This is race 2. Remember, the big one's coming up after this, the 240-pointer. Ingall in first, Bright second, Richards third, John Faulkner in fourth. 4 Holdens lead the way, then Longhurst and Ambrose leading the charge for the Blue Oval.
Look at Marcus Ambrose. He's made up 20 positions, a real charge in this race. It's coming to a conclusion after this.
We're back. This is race 2 of 3 in the Stegbar Canberra 400, and Mark Scaife, one of the most frustrated drivers out there at the moment. He's having a go at Stephen Johnson here after lap of frustration. He's finally through, and there you can see Junior disappearing behind him.
He took the long way, Bill.
Well, it was a case of power and passion, I think.
Couldn't get underneath him, so I'll go around the outside instead. So that was a pretty good move.
This is either further back in the top 20, and Max Wilson running 16th, Lowndes in 17th.
Lowndes having a real look up every inside he can possibly think of here.
It's good to see Max at least having a reasonably consistent race. He's had a terrible start to the championship, always fast in qualifying.
Yeah, all the wheels are still on at this time, aren't they?
He's never managed to get it together in a race, but now he's actually getting some serious race miles in the heat of competition.
I think this might get interesting in a minute too.
Yeah, Lowndes is getting pretty hot under the collar as well. There's been a few stabs up the inside of the Better Electrical Ford. You can see the damage on Lowndes' car from an earlier incident.
He's made up 14 positions since the start. He started way back in, alongside Mark Scaife, in fact, in position number 30. So Max Wilson, very slow, go wide, and Lowndes goes straight through.
Couldn't have been easier.
Well, Plenty of pressure out there.
You don't have to go too much further under brakes than what you normally would to overshoot a lot of places around here. The surface change is dramatic in a lot of areas. You go from lots of different surfaces under brakes, like down here into the chicane where Lounsey is now. It changes 3 times. Now we're onto the fine surface. We're onto concrete there, asphalt, concrete, then back onto asphalt, and that asphalt changes construction a couple of times too. So the road is amazingly different the whole way around the circuit.
You can take a look at the telemetry there on your screen and just see how difficult it is to work through this 3.9 kilometre circuit. RPMs on the left, speed down below. When the red light goes on, that's brakes, and of course the gears on the right there. This is through Queen Victoria Terrace, turn 6. The crown of the road there, Matt, is unbelievable. Like the change of direction through there, you're going across from one off camber to another camber, and it's phenomenal. The cars have to do so much work around here. The roads are very narrow. The different surfaces, the crowning of the road, it's phenomenal. And to get the car to ride over all these, and including the curbs, is one hell of a job. So. And an immense amount of gear changes as well. I had a chat to Larry Perkins. He said, I've got calluses on my hands. I mean, it's hard work the whole way up and down.
Yeah, you use first gear, obviously. You can use first gear 2 or 3 times if you want, but during a race, you probably cut it down to once, and that's at the last chicane. But through here, it can get really tight. And obviously, as an out-braking yourself, you have to stop. If you go through that chicane, you obviously have to stop and make sure the car's absolutely stationary and go again. So there's lots of catches around here.
Let's have a look at the Nintendo replay.
Was it? No, it's Wills. Sorry,
Simon Wills and the cat forward.
He had no steering at all by the looks of it.
Look at the amount of race tape trying to hold that car together.
It's amazing stuff, isn't it?
He's taken the Jason Bargwanna route across the lawns that's in front of Old Parliament House.
Mark Scaife continuing to push forward. He's up to 13th now. Mark Larkham, there he is in the Orcon Falcon. He's next in the gun sights. Fastest lap times in this race so far.
Mark is the closest catching, not many laps left.
He's had the fastest lap of the race. He set that on lap 6.
See, Jason Richards doing exactly the same time as Russell Ingall out in front that lap. He's carving along, and those guys were, everyone else is doing 47s.
Jeff, the guys, both Jason and Mark, have been making good progress, but have you been a bit concerned about the guys being held up by some slower cars?
Yeah, there is concern, Greg, but I think, you know, you just got to keep reminding the drivers that it's a long day and there's a big race being the last race where the double points are. So, you know, whilst there's a bit of frustration there, this race is really puts her in a qualifying position for the last race, which is the main one. So, look, we've been impressed that they've got through, especially Jason. He had a bad day yesterday. Mark, we just want to... The point about Mark is to be a little bit more conservative and just watch. There's a few tense moments here when he's behind Stephen Johnson, but, you know, at the end of the day, hopefully we've got a couple more laps to go and we can be in a good position for race 3.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's interesting the way he says that. These first 2 races are effectively qualifying events for the 50-lapper because the grid is determined on an aggregate of your results from races 1 and 2, and the final race, the 50-lapper, carries 240 points. It's a massive championship haul. So you really have to survive this to be well placed for that final last race.
Yeah, the points structure is a bit of a worry. You know, I think it can really just spread the field even more. It has the potential to just spread the field out. If Scaife has a good run here, which he is, he's going to be on pole with the points the way it is. You know, he gets another 240 points. Geez, I mean, everyone's just fighting for second place. You know, so we really do need to look at it because it's just not working.
Well, the sad thing is about it, you take Mark Scaife out of the equation, the battle for the championship is a ripper. Coming into this round, there was only 179 points covering 2nd to 8th.
Yeah, exactly right.
So it's only the one car and the one driver that's really obliterated the championship.
That's right, Mark. I mean, HRT are just doing a stunning job. Look at Jason Richards, caught up to Jason Bride.
He's flying,
and he's hounding him.
Yeah,
he could be second here.
Fantastic effort by the Kiwis. 2nd season in V8 Supercar competition.
And Bridie's splits are about 0.6, 0.7 a second slower, that split was, to Jason Richards. So he might have some sort of problem there, but Jason's doing a great job regardless.
There's quite a few team managers in pit lane have raps on Jason Richards, the young Kiwi. Certainly be interested to see him in one of the conventionally or normally front-running cars. Let's have a look at the Nintendo replay. It's further back. Scaife.
Behind Lark. Oh, he's right in the back.
Oof. Oh. Look how quickly he's caught up to Larkham. There was like 3 or 4 car lengths between them.
Yeah.
And he's right on his hammer when they come.
Seems a bit unnecessary, really, that he needs to be pushing quite that hard. But anyway.
Just taking a look at some of the big movers when we had that race score up. Ambrose has gone up 20 spots. Stephen Richards up 19. Scaife up 16. Wilson up 13. The biggest dropper still out there. Paul Morris down 19.
Marcus Ambrose has done a good job. He will be pretty handily placed on the grid for the 50-lapper because he's, in both races, managed to claw his way back from miles down the field up to a competitive situation.
I reckon Marcus is actually in a bit of tyre trouble, to tell the truth. I think he's having a bit of a struggle. Tand is sort of putting a bit of pressure on, and his lap times are comparatively pretty slow too. So,
well, the only guy running in the 146.2, Ingles been consistently in the 46s. Lowndes just punched out a high 45 before, so he's really getting some speed out of the 00 Motorsport Ford, but he's a long way down the order still. He's in 16th place.
And traffic obviously plays a huge part around here. Yeah. If you're fighting with someone and they cover a couple of corners to stop you from passing, and it drops the lap time by over a second straight away.
Is it a good racetrack purely from a driver's point of view, or is it a fun thing to get in and take on?
It's one of those places where you really want your car to be working well. If it's not working well, this place is a nightmare.
Yeah. There's Team Brock. Craig Baird at the wheel of the consistently improving car. Very early days for Team Brock.
Beto's a good driver too. He's going to, if he can get that thing going better and faster, he's a man to really work that car.
I just think this category now has become so much an engineer's formula as much as a racing driver's formula.
Yeah, it's a package.
The fact that they've got Ronnie Harrott working there gives you great cause for optimism, because let's not forget it was Ron Harrop who came on board at HRT when they were all at sea and really started them heading in the right direction. He's certainly a man who knows his stuff.
Ronnie knows his stuff, there's no doubt about that, and he'll be a big asset to the team.
Behind these guys, this battle rages on between Mark Larkham and Mark Scaife. Under brakes, Scaife has been all over the back of the Orcon Racing Ford. Down the straight line, Larkham has at least started to pull away. There they go there to start the last lap.
Well, there's been plenty of bumping and grinding, not least from our championship leader, Mark Scaife. Just an indication of how tough it is out there.
I think he might have just decided to sort of back off a little bit. He's pretty cruisy around that corner there. It's the last lap. There's no need to push anymore. He's going to be on pole for the final. He's got 100 points versus, I don't know who's going to be second, but it's going to be pretty tight actually. There's a lot of guys at 80 points. There's some 80 odd points. Might be Stephen Richards.
At the moment it'll be Stephen Richards if they remain as they are, and Russell Ingall's going to benefit greatly. He'll be alongside probably Jason Bright on the second row of the grid.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Russell starts, he finishes nearly last. He gets 5 points from yesterday's race, and he's going to be on the second row of the grid, whereas Todd Kelly finishes third yesterday, finishes a great 10th today, and he's going to be behind him. How does that work?
Here's Russell.
Unfortunately, them's the rules.
Okay. Do I get any points? Please?
Russell Ingall, race leader, and he's miles out in front. 11 seconds lead over Jason Bright. So he took advantage of that clear track. He pitted early. Crew turned him around in very quick time, and he's taken maximum advantage of that great grid boost he got as a result of the reverse grid situation.
Jason Bright is a long way behind. Just gives you an idea of how much fun Russell Ingall's had out the front when there's been no problems, and the reverse grid rewards Russell Ingall. He returns to the winner's podium for the first time since Winton last year. Ingall gets a race win.
Doesn't matter how they come. It's always nice.
Really good speed. You're basically the quickest guy out there all the time.
And a great performance too from Jason Richards. Bright second, Jason Richards third, John Faulkner in fourth, Longhurst in fifth, Marcus Ambrose. An amazing performance to come up to sixth position. That's up 20 from where he started. But the moment right now belongs to the enforcer in the Castrol Perkins Commodore. So much talk about where he'll be next year. Down
through Holden Turn, the Red Army are down there. But Eddie Holden victory is something they'll cheer about. Russell Ingall, boy, it's been a long time since he took victory. Last at Winton, the last time he run around, it was last year, so almost 12 months out of the winner's circle. Ingall takes the victory, 13 seconds up the road from Jason Bright. Jason Richards, outstanding performance by Team Kiwi. The All Blacks will be thrilled with that one. John Faulkner did equally well. Great job by JF. Tony Longhurst, Marcus Ambrose, Garth Tander and Jason Bargwana.
Ambrose and Stephen Richards were absolutely awesome, making their way through all that traffic. Todd Kelly also went up 17 positions. Skate there in 13th. He will have pole position for race 3. Max Wilson finishes in 17th after gaining 13 places. And Cameron McLean, who started on pole position, ends up in position number 22. So 240 more points on offer for the winner of race 3. That's coming up on Network 10.
Here's a collection of carnage for you. It wouldn't be the Steve Bar Canberra 400 without it. And the result of that concertina effect, Paul Radisich, one of many to sustain damage, but he was the worst hit on that occasion. Fire from the friction as he's had to spend so much time getting back to the pits. Now, a collision between Jones and Forbes put Forbes into the wall there. Ellery and also Simon Wills were collected, but this man was really badly damaged. Glenn Seaton actually passed the crash, but was taken sideways, and that it caused a lot of damage for Glenn to get back to the pits as well, much the same way as Radisich did with the sheer friction. A lot of smoke, this time no fire, but plenty of panel damage, and in fact they parked that car, conserving it for race 3. Steve Ellery, another of the drivers to be affected in that collision, he limped back as well with damage on the other side of the front end, and he also had some problems in the pits where they spent quite a bit of time repairing that car. They took the wheel off, but also tried desperately to fix up the panel damage. He'll be back for race 3. As Canberra collects its thoughts, we have finer weather for race 3. Doesn't look like rain. In fact, it's a little bit warmer, if anything. Marcus Ambrose and Garth Tander, big movers in race 2. That'll help them in terms of their grid position for race 3. Likewise, Richards, Skate conservative in race 2. He wants to hold his position and points for the weekend. And Stephen Johnson didn't fare too badly at all. Good duel with Mark Skate. In fact, towards the end of that race, I'm sure Mark was a little frustrated before he got round Junior. Now, here's the man who won race 2, Russell Ingall with Barry Sheen.
Well, we had to wait a long time for that, Russell.
Thank Christ for that. I tell you what, every lap I'm going, please nothing fall off, don't anything break. But no, look, the guys did a great job in the pits, got me out in time. Everything went smooth, you know. It makes it a lot easier starting from the front. Like, I mean, it makes it a little bit easier. I think I've had a bit of a gift there, but hey, nowadays I take what I get.
No, it makes you think what could have happened yesterday if you hadn't have had that bolt break and also the puncher.
Absolutely. Like, the car's got enough pace, there's no doubt about it. We knew that when we first rolled out the truck on Friday. It was just a shame yesterday, the puncher, the suspension failure has put us back a bit, but hopefully it's going to put us sort of midway up the grid, and with 2 stops for the 3rd race, mate, we'll give it a good run.
Well, so far they're saying that you're going to be on the 1st or 2nd row of the grid.
Really?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Third I'm hearing, 3rd row of the grid.
Oh, it's like Christmas. Just keeps getting better.
Do you want to say hello to the missus?
Yeah, hi Julia. Hope it's not coming yet. 6 weeks to go. She's worrying more than I am.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine it. You did the damage.
Yeah. She's all right, Jules, in one piece.
Thanks, Russ.
No worries. Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
Best wishes to you too, Julia, from all the team as you get ready for the big event. Now, V8X is where you can read about all those personal dramas that the drivers have to go through, all the stories connected with the V8 Supercar Championship, behind the scenes and, of course, on the track. Great magazine out now at a good outlet near you. And don't forget, all the great merchandise that you need to be a race-going fan is on rpmlive.tv, the website. You can buy it, you can have it sent to you very simply, very easily, and you can enjoy the great products that we have on offer. Everything you need, and of course everything you need in the way of race action coming up soon. But in the meantime, a look at how they have to set these cars up for this street race here. It's not always easy. There are lots of factors to deal with.
V8 supercar drivers often complain about not having any front-end grip. That's because they can't get the right amount of temperature into the front tyres to get them to their optimum operating zone. Now, it's particularly bad around the streets of Canberra because it's a fairly slow-speed circuit, so there's no corners there to really load the tyres up. And ambient temperatures seem to be quite low too, so what the teams rely on is what's called negative camber. Now, camber simply describes the angle of the wheel relative to vertical. If you have a look at this, we've propped this one up showing a fair degree of negative camber. That is when the top of the wheel leans in toward the car. And at Canberra, you might have up to 7 degrees, which is quite extreme. Now, what this does is it effectively reduces the contact patch running on the road right down to this inside shoulder. That puts a lot of heat into that very quickly, and then what happens is the heat from that radiates through the tyre carcass and the tread, and you get some decent heat into the rubber. Now, that's great in science, but there's also 2 penalties that come with that. With a small contact patch, it always increases the tyre's susceptibility to being damaged through impact on curbs and maybe hitting hard things on the road. The other problem is, with this small contact patch, under braking, there's a very good chance you can lock a brake and flat spot a tyre.
Setup's one thing, repairs are another. Some crews have had to do a lot of that in between races. Let's see how they front up for race 3. We'll go racing right after this break.